Welcome. Hello and welcome. Happy 214 Valentine's Day Snydercut extravaganza. So, no big surprise. The cut has been the trailer, the official HBO Max trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League just came out today, and it's creating quite a buzz as it should. This is gonna be like a thought breakthrough, a breakdown of breakdown in the shots, but it's not necessarily from just like a story point, but just like also from like a storyboard kind of perspective, kind of thing. But first, I'm just gonna run it through because why not? And then we'll just like look at the rest afterwards.
The petals didn't run. I'm in the dark among the stars. The god is dead.
I had a dream, almost like a premonition. I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
I need warriors. I'm building an alliance to defend ourselves.
How do you know your team's strong enough? If you can't bring down the charging bull, then don't wave the red cape at it.
You were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes you the rest of your life, find out what that reason is.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to.
We live in a society where honor
Is a distant memory. Isn't that right?
Batman.
We do live in a society, don't we? Okay, so boy, that was one. So let's look back. Let's check out from the start through the magic of slow mo. Go ahead and mute the sound though. So one of the first things like right away, obviously you can see the texture on like the graphics, but the cool thing with trailers when they're done really well is that they each kind of they tell the story in tourniqueted form, like in its most basic parts. So like a measure of success in your work is if you can communicate complex ideas visually. So you see Clark right here. He's obviously the last cry of like the of him during the end of Batman v Superman, and you see we see his like his last cry, his death rattle, if you will, and you see from there the shock waves, kind of the sonic frequency, the visual manifestation of his last breath, which is deafening to say the least. There's Gotham City right there, the site, the port side. It's abandoned, remember, and a little bit. Check out right there. You see him right there. Check that out. You're gonna see the wind cut through. You know, weather's a good way to show weather is like a good way to show mood in film and story. And obviously right here, this is like nighttime fight night, if you remember, and it's a dark, like really dark, dark. It's a dark event, a dark evening. You know, it's like the remnants of destruction shown through. Look at that, and it's really good with leading the eye across the way. Just really good, just really good color theory, which I'll touch on a little later because you know that's a thing as well. But you see it cresting through. Also momentum, shot flowing into other shot right there, into the ether, into the horizon. And there's Paradise Island, aka Themyscira, and again, it's so like if there's one thing this lady, the queen, is understanding is that you know isolation. It's like even could be a subtle theme. Isolation just does not. Isolation can only work for so long until eventually the world finds its way to you, which is what the sound part of the sound wave. If I'm assuming correctly, based on that right there, possibly it's either related to Steppenwolf landing into the temple where we can assume that the fight happened, where the mother box was being held in isolation. We see the little, we see the troops all coming in from here and here, kind of flanking in. Flanking over there too. See, they're also there as well, and it's kind of going over. Um, Depending on where the queen was, if she like threw the ball, if they're still doing the thing where they throw the box to each person, you know, kind of slingshotting it with the arrow. So, but just a really cool like kind of a nice little landing effect. The shockwave goes from here, goes to here, boom. Not saying they're connected per se, but it would be really cool if that's what's going on here. And I think it might actually possibly be. There's a little star there, mother box kind of related thing. Warner Media, DC. One of those two are actually doing their job to promote. One of them isn't. Okay. Holy yellow ochre, Batman. Okay, this is a gorgeous shot. The ships there, remains of this like buildings, almost kind of like an in Inception kind of throwback, that fourth level or third level rather. You know, when you're in the deep subconscious. And this is obviously the future, the nightmare future. There's the trucks kind of moving in from there. There's the dark nightmare. You see them kind of moving in. Parademons too. Obviously, this is a future where, as it's been talked about in tweets on Vero, and Zach has mentioned that the this is a future where Superman has succumbed to the anti-life equation, and Darkseid and Steppenwolf were, well, rather Darkseid was like successful in his invasion. These elements would be more played out in Justice League 2, which followed through in Justice League 3. Yeah, which we may, I mean, when rather this is successful, hopefully AT&T will give a the green light to finish the last 2 and 3, Justice League 2 and 3. And frankly, since we have 4 hours, if we get another 4 hours, we can definitely film the whole 2 and 3 at the same time. And there he is walking through. He's seemingly close to the city. Ruins over there. Also, this seems to be like Metropolis based on the geometry. This is probably where the water was, the lake was. If you remember Batman v Superman, it's like, where Bruce steps out in the nightmare sequence. There's the house right there, Wayne Manor, and then there's Bruce standing there, and then the volcanic, the fire pits. And there's something I want to mention because I don't really see it mentioned a lot. Like set design and clothing design are really important because they can help reinforce the verbal themes, the script themes, the directorial themes, and even like the vocal kind of the dialogue things. But obviously we got this like eggshell, not even eggshell white, like kind of like yellow ivory, kind of going on gray ivory or what have you. And it's what's cool is that like Diana is kind of mirroring that, you know, it's like she's wearing, you know, that kind of again that kind of like light yellow ivory. So it's like she's a pillar amongst these things. She's a pillar of the old world. You know, being like in this version anyway, an enchanted divine being. Like she is like a pillar amongst pillars. You know what I mean? It's kind of symbolic. She is part of that world. You know, as like her being over 5,000 years old. So she's like a pillar of ancient world. So reinforcing the meta theme, the meta history, the lore of Wonder Woman being she's been around for so long, but then on top of that, in a narrative standpoint, she's you know a pillar in this world as well. And now, oh, she's got the arrow sent from Hippolyta, which was not shown. Like she wasn't shown. This whole thing was absent in the theatrical cut, so we never saw anything like this. The arrow was shown. It would hit into the temple on TV, mind you. So it was like a shot within a shot, like on fire, and that was that. And then she's just at a lake near Wayne Manor with Bruce. You know what I mean? So it's just like really tourniqueted stuff. You can also see the fences right here. So probably there's like a photo that Zach posted of her at this site, which shows like you know the government or whatever agency she's part of, being like I guess an anthropologist, probably one of the few anthropologists that actually makes a living worth anything. I don't make the economy about it, but yeah. So you see, it's chained off here, so no one can get to it. So odds are on she put the order out to you know contain this area. Go check it out probably after it was taken care of. She knows what this is about because this is from home. Mom is calling. Because he wrecked house. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, this is the handiwork. Like shout out to like um, Dominique Harris, Dominique Reed, and Rohan Harris. This source also from links to their website are on for Snydercut.com. You see the little pictures right here. Christian Huband, Dominique Reed. They were the scenic artists that really put this together. This is a big scene, you know. It's like check out this website. I mean, like, look at this. Look at the size. Like this, that. There's Gal. She'd be like this size here, but the scope. Like these kind of things to also make sure it fits into the style of what would be a more retro look is very difficult. It is not easy to do because you have to do research to make sure thematically it works. You know, visually. There's a little angle for scale. 2016. This film is almost 5 years old. By the way, you know, there goes the tribes of humanity. You know, there's different tribes of humanity, in addition to the Amazons and Atlanteans. It's interesting because like it's not really touched on as much, but the fact is like the Amazons and the Atlanteans, they're all human descent. You know what I mean? The Amazons are just like people in a time capsule. They're very strong, but they're not necessarily, at least as far as the cinematic movies I've told, they're not superhumans. They're just people like in a time capsule that are like basically at peak physical strength relative to what their bodies will allow. And then the Atlanteans they've just adapted over time, you know, to being in the water and things of that nature until they mutated into what they did. So kind of thinking about like over the, like what 5,000 years old, she's like if Diana's older than 5,000, it's like the very long time that you know they've changed. So imagine being in like isolation on like Themyscira and like you're exercising every day for thousands of years. You know what I mean? It's like it's very curious what the nature of time does to the bodies of these individuals. Okay, so going back, there she is, lighting, very key lighting. Like in illustration and in photography, do not be scared. This is like called like a high contrast chiaroscuro. Like, don't be afraid of harsh shells. They carve out the figure and give us an idea, give us what it looks like. It makes colors stand out. So you don't have to overclock the color. You don't have to push your brightness too much. You can control your colors relative to the mood you're trying to create. This is really important. So here she's like, she's got the arrow. She's found out, that symbolizes invasion, that there is a big problem. Okay, it's been a long time and they haven't reached out. And the fact that they reached out, they being the Amazons, being Queen Hippolyta, that they've reached out to her, because again, they don't know about, anything else. They don't know about cars. They don't know about cell phones. So they don't know about Superman. I would be curious to know if they were aware of the world engine, because when it was terraforming the planet, that's a curious thing. Did the Amazons, were they affected by the world engine? Because the cloaking, the visibility device, it really just only conceals them. I mean, unless like the lore and like the Wonder Woman 2017 is like off, but you can sail into the world. You can actually walk into Themyscira. It's just invisible. And of course, look at this. Look at composition. We'll be getting into composition as well. Like that 4:3 ratio really gives you like, one, it gives you scale, and there he is, the big king man himself, king stated king, the bishop and his knights and bishops. There's Desaad, Granny Goodness. Oh man, if King Kirby could be alive to see this today. Let's take a look at that again. And obviously, like, her getting the message. And again, in the theme of in the progression of the trailer, we're showing here, Superman has passed. His death, his cry rang through the world. Out in the dark, among the stars. Look at that. Parademons. Look at that. Okay. And then, like, here he is. Like, see, like, grays and reds. Like red, orange ochre kind of thing. Yellow blending in, like those flame colors. These are the colors of apocalypse. You know what I mean? Like, you see that? Like, lots of, like, yeah, like red and yellow ochre. Red, yellow ochre mixed together. Maybe some birch umber. Yeah, like light burnt umber mixed together. But you see those oranges and those like browns kind of mixed together. It's pretty jazzy. And then obviously there's, again, like, these are like the color themes are critical. And this is interesting because it's like, Zach mentioned that, like, his Steppenwolf's armor, it's organic. You know what I mean? It moves with him. It's like control. It's like biomechanical, almost like nanotech. Like, at least in the way that nanotech is perceived in like sci-fi, kind of like where like sensory, kind of connected to one's nervous system to like control by thought maybe. Obviously, there's the Amazons coming into reinforcement. Oh, no, well, rather to run the thing away because they need to get that thing out of there. Parademons coming in. Notice this shot. Obviously, like, we're gonna see similarities and overlap from the 2017 release because they repurposed a lot of shots. So obviously, this is one of them. Like, there you go. So like, they're coming in, but also it's been like, boom, lightning's pretty cool. Look at that. Ugh, brutality. But you see like how, like, one thing that's gonna probably notice is that there's gonna be sequences that we realize that in theatrical cut were basically shuffled about and tourniqueted. That's how they got it down to that 2-hour runtime. And you see, like, we're telling the story, going from there, and right now, linearly, here we go. He's here. He's arrived. Steppenwolf is here. The elements, the new gods are arriving. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne, proper Bruce Wayne, is looking for people. You see Bruce Wayne and Diana. They're the mama and papa of Justice League. You know, until big man Superman arrives again. Boom. This scene right here was also altered. Like, this was completely missing. This was completely missing from the theatrical cut. Her using the gauntlet burst in the attack in Paris. Look at the force. Look at the force behind how he moves through the water. Like, it's like flight. I've always believed, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that like flight, if people were able to fly, it would feel like that kind of, in the loose terms, the manipulation of gravity. You feel like swimming, and that you're negotiating how your body moves its momentum. Look at that. Look at that confrontation. Look at that. It's like Steppenwolf underwater. Again, the lightning strikes. Just, he is a threat. And I'm more than certain what they're probably going to be showing in the film is how, you know, here he's Arthur trying to deal with him underwater alone. Again, the Amazons trying to deal with Steppenwolf on their own, and they are not succeeding. The new gods are way too powerful. They are way too powerful to be dealt with. And the only way they're going to deal with this threat is the way they did last time during the history lesson, when Euxus arrived before, and when humanity had to team up. That's the only way they were ever going to survive this, and they were able to stop it. So from here, I see new shot of Cyborg. See, he's kind of like controlling this thing, kind of like it's got like that tank, like that Gatling gun, arm coming probably from the back. We've seen like some like behind the scenes like concept art, some concept art with Cyborg in his 4 arms. Let's see. I think it was Jarrett Moran's. Jarrett Moran's, I think, was the one that had like the design for it. There's him, see like Steppenwolf out like the skin. You kind of see that like in the film itself. You check that out. We'll see his art station. A lot of these people have art station. Art station's a great website. You know, you can just get so many cool stuff. There's some parademon concepts. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's that's one of the big things about this thing being released, is that people are able to, like, the artists are able to see their hard work pay off. All those designs, all that time, you know what I mean? Like, put to good use. You know what I mean? It's like, let's see, where is he? I don't know if he's necessarily on this page, or like, also something else to note is like, a lot of these artists also work on other properties, like Marvel and stuff as well. So when people say like certain things look familiar, is because, well, not so much because it's not like they're copying one another. It's because like artists are used across the board. So, you know, it's like there is a concept artist style that kind of is like, it's how do I put this? It's like it's nondescript enough to like be kind of everywhere. It was like, without being too, because like you can't have Matt Groening do concept art for Justice League. It's too personalized. But you need something that's strong draftsmanship and painting skills. This was probably done in like ZBrush or something to that effect. Okay, so here's like Cyborg. Let's see if they got. Yep. Boom. All right, see that right there? Kind of 2 arms being used. Look at the nature here. See that right there? Yeah. Yep. So that's pretty cool. And then moving forward, there's the Flash, and oh, look at that! It's during during dawn. You know, magic hour in the morning time. Isn't it nice? Look at that. Makes sense. Contrast is good. No unnatural lighting. Ooh. All right. And then there's Batman and the Batmobile. Little night owl reference. Okay, more color theory talk. All right. See, the problem was when you see like the last shot was like when this shot was missing. There's a lot missing, but in the theatrical cut, the sky was red, right? The problem with that is when you're doing any kind of like it makes it hard to read for the eye. So when you're trying to do any kind of anytime you make a composition, you are guiding the eye. You know what I mean? Like it's cinematography isn't just visual design is not just simply putting things on the screen as refined as possible. That's not really how that works. Design is about okay, this shot right here. One, since there's a lot of dark here, like anything that's darker tends to draw your eye. If you have a full screen that's like has like one black dot over here, your eye's going to be drawn here. Since we have the contrast, the reds and this, like they're like adjacent colors. Because like yellow and blue are complementary colors. So you could shade one with the other. So you put red in here, like obviously this is like, from part of the apocalyptic stuff. But it helps build contrast. It tells us where we are. This cuts it in half. You know where the sky is at all times. That way you can know where the skyline is. The red, where the danger is, where the fire, red being, it's a fiery color, it's an intense color. That tells us where we are. It helps separate things apart. You know what I mean? It's like, see that? And you see how like the pieces of fire within the darkness they let, and there's a reverse effect too. You do that, light also guides your eye. So you jump back here, back in Gotham. You see that? Now, if this was all red or like a conspicuous red like tint, it really doesn't let you know where you. It's really hard to read it. It's like a drawing that has way too many details on it. It just becomes really hard to look at, and you don't focus on anything. And then subsequently, you forget what you're seeing. And so, going back here, Parademons pushed out. Look at that. Look at Steppenwolf. Look how agile and dexterous he is. There's a Diana right there, fighting off there. Also, cool compositional thing. There's like everything has a rhythm to it, right? So, yep, threes. Okay. 1, 2, 3. You see the laser there? That like it's a cool thing, but it's like I don't know if it was intentional, but it also kind of guides your eye. You know what I mean? Because like the first one goes like obviously let's drop this even slower for a sec. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so you see where he's moving, right? Where Steppenwolf is moving. All right, there's the car. And obviously momentum too. We're pushing in, slow down. Okay, there he is moving. Hits her arm. Laser's going off there, bouncing off there. It's really cool. Like it goes from, I'm guessing the previous shot was a shot of him attacking something, him jumping out of the frame, and then it cuts to here. So kind of emphasis like cutting on motion. So he was probably wherever the shot was before, probably him leaping off to this direction, and then cutting to the next shot, which would be this here. You see how he's moving in, so it'd be carrying momentum in. Yeah, he probably moved from here, or like even maybe around this area. So kind of like where he was in the last shot is where he kind of moves in here, and so the momentum carries him over. So that momentum's done, but as he's moving and the lightning, this lightning curves are here and this draws are here while this moves us. So it's like it's basically what I'm saying. It's drawing you to her, right? Because that last laser is moving towards Die, right? See, boom, and then it's her, right? So it's a nice little setup. There's like it's like compositional rhythm. Like every frame is a painting, it's said, but also it's a continuum. So you want to make sure everything flows into one, even if it's pedestrian. Maybe even more so. But like for terms of like rhythm, it's like stuff that's under the hood, but it's like the rhythm is there, and it's like you can see that, and then, like it's one of those things like you don't know it's gone until it's there. It's like it's a foundational thing, your composition thing. It's a lot like bass in that way. It's a dynamic instrument and it's important, and it doesn't just hold the rhythm, it helps construct the entire vibe. But when it's off, you can tell. And here it's on point. So you see that like all right, we see Nile drive, like look, momentum, boom, 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 push. Feel the weight. Him moving over there, zap, 1, 2, 3. And again with lighting. If this was super lightened up, we wouldn't know where anything's coming from. It tells us where things are. All right, they're in the tunnel. Tunnel's probably the opening is above, but it's the dark you get, there's less to see. And so this is cool. It carves it out, adds more drama. Baroque art, Rembrandt, Caravaggio, many others. Um, not like they use dramatic lighting to create mood. Baroque art is very dramatic, grandiose, and very, very kind of like emotional stuff. You see it like in things like Rembrandt's paintings. Say like Michelangelo's Sixtine Chapel. Like they're very like dramatic scenes, and like the color palette and the lighting style is typically a lot of what like Zach's films tend to use. There are other directors who use it as well, but he's like kind of known for that, and it helps sell the drama of the situation. Also, on top of that, it lets the color stand out more. If your lighting is very weak, it tends to flatten things out. Now, if that's what the design you're going for, that's fine. But understand your lighting it becomes very flat, and it kind of makes things like it just flattens it out and it makes it less dynamic. Now, like that's fine if if you're using it like just use whatever's appropriate for design sense. Okay, you see there, good lighting. Same thing, Batcave, strong lighting. The dialogue. We'll get to the dialogue part like afterwards, but like look at the set. Look, blue eyes. Look at the colors. Look at the weight. This guy is menacing. There's some things. What was cool about back when the idea of was back when the Hulk movie by Ang Lee came out. One of the cool things was that the idea of seeing Hulk move in a very fast fashion, and there's something quite terrifying about a big menacing figure that can move as dexterously and fast as like a cruiserweight, like a light runner. And here he is. He's fast and he's agile. Like he's not moving around like an acrobat, but he is agile and he's a fast bruiser. He's a fast brawler, which is just really it conveys this terror for the audience. And the axe is a really good way from a lighting standpoint. It's a really good way to keep track of him because his neutral color seems to be silver and gray, apocalyptian, but also his axe has the lightning. There's a charge, there's energy, so you can follow him in a given scene that's lit in this particular way. Different character designs do that. Like some games, like there's a game called Shinobi where what they would use for the PlayStation 2 and what the character Hotsuma would have, he had this long red scarf. And when he moves around the screen, you'd be able to track him by the scarf where it was and where it would land. So it's a good visual thing to keep so you don't get lost. So you see where the axe is. Wherever he moves the axe, you can tell where he is regardless of the lighting. Also, we're probably going to get into like more of Arthur's ability because obviously like there's more to this thing here, and obviously it was lost in the theatrical cut, and it was not even mentioned in the Aquaman film. Like that was his abilities were absolutely like absent. And I hope that's what we get more of. Like his action films tend to do that, so we'll have more idea about how everyone's abilities works, the nuance of it. We understand how Superman works and how his powers work because we've seen There's the voiceover from Jor-El, but also you get to see what his limits are. That being seen through lead with the event in Congress and kryptonite. So, like, script wise, letting it be known and then visually reinforcing it, that kind of symbiotic harmony. And obviously, the symbol, the red cape. Obviously, there's London, I believe. I could be wrong, but there's the key, and there she be. Look at that. We're gonna like see that's one of the cool things in any film, you know, that has like big scale like this. It's moving around the scenery because the world is a player. Look at that. Boom. It plays a role. So when we get to move around the columns of fire, we get to move around the atmosphere. Like you see those shots in Lord of the Rings where they're flying around Mordor, going around the various villages. It makes it feel more alive and more believable. Like the goal of the film necessarily doesn't necessarily have to be realistic, but believable. When we believe, we invest in, and the realism comes from emotional resonance, our empathy, our ability to feel or connect with the emotion that's being shown. This character feels bad, therefore I feel bad too, because I know that feeling, albeit maybe from a different event, or sympathy for a scene or a character. And this is like, it's really cool because this is probably from the history lesson. Yeah. And just the scope of it. Again, lighting. Lighting is so critical. From the smoke, you know what I mean, to all that stuff, it's really important. It gives form and shape, which makes things more real. Whoa. There's old man Paul Kent. Again, composition, a shorthand for it. It's really because like there's different ways. There's so many schools about it, but what's important, keep it in the front. Whatever's on screen has to have a purpose, either to be to articulate a scene or theme, but in this case, thematically, as he's being lowered in. This is the most important element. It's a reminder of Jonathan Kent and the role he played in help him and Martha shaping who Clark is, and him encouraging him to find out his culture, his heritage, as a better means to understanding himself, and also helping him better stand in the world. And then Clark's in the background, so it's a secondary importance, primary importance, secondary importance, and then the water is like all around. So like that's also, the ship, an extra importance. So like in composition, whatever your composition you're doing, whether it's like over the shoulder and the person's over here or what have you, whatever is important, have it in the foreground or be most seen, and then whatever else has importance but not as important, keep it within sight. Keep it where we can see it. See, there's Victor Stone using his abilities. Uses abilities like, what was it? He's able to like walk through. It's like you end up using a montage of where the mother box has been. So I'm not sure if it's like like he's illustrating it via hologram or something to that effect, so we can kind of see that as he walks through, kind of a visual aid. Sensory. Speaking of powers, okay, in the tiers of power, they're powerful in different ways, but Wonder Woman, Flash, and Superman. Uh, Flash is obviously faster than both of them, but Superman is faster than Diana, and this extends to their sensory abilities, like the ability to perceive the Flash. All right, like what we saw at least in the fight scene in the Heroes Park, is that is that Clark can not only perceive Barry, but he can see him, but he can react in real time. Not enough to catch him, but enough to pose a threat. So his senses are that strong. They're nearly on kind of a quantum level. Whereas, and Diana she is very strong. She's not to that level, but she has enough where she can perceive Barry and move, albeit her response time is much slower. Because like she's falling at this point. And at this point, the Flash was like circling around the tunnel to push the sword back to her. You know, and so she's able to respond. If she wasn't fast enough, if she didn't have a bit, she wouldn't be able to up. See, because like look, everything around her is still. That tells you from a sensory level where she's at, and that's the kind of stuff we were waiting for because it's not been explored. Her sensory ability. This is important when having her do things in film. When you don't explain how she's able to do what she does enough. I'm not saying Greek chorus, write a diagram on a whiteboard, but at least know, okay, because she is a divine, her abilities are enhanced. She's stronger and faster, yes, but how does that affect her sensorily? If she has Zeus's ability, this is how it affects her. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. Just a little more explanation about what she can do, and that was what I felt was missing from, you know, Wonder Woman 2017 and Wonder Woman 1984. A clear understanding of the nature of her abilities, not the byproduct, which is the physical strength. Clark's byproduct of being strong, fast, his physical abilities are due to the nature of him being. His abilities are based on the nature of his power being physical. They're sensory related. The atmosphere in the air is more nourishing to Kryptonian bodies. The sun helps; it strengthens their bodies, heightening their senses, their skin. As a result, that is why he's able to jump fast. That's why everything is from a physical standpoint. He's not making magic out of thin air. So, with her, what is the nature of her ability? She is divine weapon, right? She's made of dirt and clay, and Zeus in this version is Zeus zapping her to life. So, you know, we can guess that there's lightning related abilities, but it's not made as clear as necessary. And hopefully we get a little more. Like, we don't know what that gauntlet burst is. We need to know what that is. It's just a little thing can go a long way. It gives us an idea of how she's able to operate against people like Steppenwolf. So, and again, special ability. Everyone has a unique special ability. This right here, I'm very curious to know what this is. It's actually talked about water manipulation and the Atlanteans in the air pockets. That's why he didn't want to use the talking into water, not in like a disrespect to the source material or the medium, but as far as just like again that a core thing being if these characters were in a world very similar to ours but not exactly, here's what they may look like, and having them like, you know, because there was even talk about like maybe trying to come up with an Atlantean like language for how they would talk, you know, the idea being like, you know, sound travels through water and things like that. So they were R&Ding things, but didn't like, you know, this is what they came toward that was like elegant enough kind of. And so like that's the ability, water manipulation, like that was completely missing in Aquaman, completely. Another cool thing, like Atlanteans when they're underwater, so their physiology has changed as much. So like when they're like swimming in the Mariana Trench, like if you were to look at them in the kind of way you see like footage of like deep sea critters, there's like a reflection in the eyes because obviously their eyes are tuned to see in the darkness. Very cool. Speed Force in action. Barry's a quantum figure, kind of letting us have time to see. Boom. there's Bruce. Yeah, I'm saying save. I can see they're like this is a. You can. Is it fun to tell between this and the last teaser, and say how they've corrected things, the levels and things like that. There's Bruce, who's obviously been on the search in Iceland. He's looking for Aquaman, looking for Arthur Curry, the man who would be king. Okay, so those who were paying attention to the last teaser, this was when he was boom, 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 boom. In the last one, the little where the drums were hitting in that edit of Hallelujah, and so he's fighting this, and you see him move to another shot, boom, which is super cool. It's like so like deflecting. There's Diana fighting Steppenwolf, so it must be after. This must be after, yeah. After Steppenwolf jumps over here, and then the three parademons shoot at Diana. Again, there's the lightning. Lots of yellows. The yellows and reds help people stand out. Batman's dark, so but also silhouette's really good. The red draws near. See, color has a function, and you know, it not only does it look gorgeous, but you know, it draws your eye where it needs to be. And Batman works your best in shadow. Like that's the really cool benefit of Batman. Like he is very much a less is more character. You can get away with just doing very minimal with showing him. There's Home Sweet Home. Superman got done dirty in the theatrical cut. Him and Lois, like, the story was gutted to pieces, just wrecked. Like Killer Instinct, 300 hit combo, Mortal Kombat brutality, uppercutted into 1,000 femurs. This was never seen. Like here, she's like obviously guiding him back. Because obviously he's still out of sorts. He's been brought back from the dead, you know, by virtue of basically the entire civilization living in him via the Codex. You know what I mean? People think like, well, he died. Well, they're just bringing him back because it's like, in Death of Superman, the idea was that, and it's been a while already. But he's more or less like in a hard coma, basically. It was something to that effect. Like I could be wrong. Like feel free to correct, but it was more of his own physical being, less about another entity that's in his bloodstream. Whereas here in this particular universe, in the Snyderverse, he has bedded in his DNA the entire genetic makeup of Krypton. Like the entire civilization, bloodlines, thousands upon thousands of bloodlines living in a single carrier. That thing is alive. And the codec really, and maybe we'll hear more about it. The codec functions without needing him to be alive, or at the very least it stays alive longer than without a host. You know what I mean? Like they even mentioned in Man of Steel, the one when Zod asked, "Can the codex be extracted? Does Cal need to be alive to extract the codex?" And he said no. So the codex it's implied there, can survive without Clark being alive. So however much time between BVS to now, or rather now being Justice League, which it sounds like at the very least 6 months, maybe. It was able to stay alive, and that's what was supercharged potentially to bring him back to life, to jumpstart him back. But with anything of that sort, you know, he's been flatlined. His mind is all like the ethereal nature of being brought back from the dead, like dead. Not like my heart was stopped. You know, there's stories about like, you know, yogis or like, you know, Eastern kind of like people who focus through meditation to like kind of stop their heart or things like that, or whatever you hear. Like that's the stopping of the heart and to restarting the organ. But the idea of like just, you know, that's not really death. That, you know, where it's like death is you don't come back. He was stabbed through the heart. Giant spike right through the pectoral. Okay, when that happens, you die. There's no jump starting, but in the conventional sense, unless you have something very unique, which is what he does, which is like, that codex. And what would that do to your mind? It's restoring. How would you restore your memories, your thoughts, who you are after a traumatic experience such as that? Which is kind of interesting because it's kind of meta with the film, because this film is very much a restoration project. You know what I mean? It's like restoring it to a 4:3 aspect ratio instead of cropping it down to like 16 by whatever, which would probably be like this kind of deal right here. But again, Clark has to rebuild his life. This is chapter 3 in Superman's massive epic. This is, him coming back after making the ultimate sacrifice. And fortunately for him, Lois is here, because if Lois isn't here, if Lois and Martha are gone and Clark is by himself, this could get really dangerous. Because, it would be hard for him to remember where he is. It would take him a long time. And maybe he might not even be there to help the rest of the team, the League, to fight this invasion. Because, who he is still waking up. And there she is. And again, that gesture, look at this composition right here. He's there, she's in the middle of the ground. The importance of this scene, it's in the background, it's the furthest back, but it has importance. The least important subject, action, story, and it also looks like, what's the weather? We're definitely looking like fall. Yeah, definitely looking like fall. Because weather reflects the time. Look at the field. The field's kind of in disarray. Looks kind of... I don't know if Martha's still here. I do know that Clark clearly knows how to build houses fast, because this was destroyed by Zod, but mercifully, Clark knows his way around the hammer. This is a cool shot. It's like, again, flight, gravity, call back to the first film, Man of Steel, and look at that. What's cool here is like it's been hinted at. You see it in like Man of Steel in areas when he's floating or he moves up when he was going to challenge Zod. After Zod punched him, and he said, he floated off the ground, and you see the ground move around him, his gravitational force field. There's been a lot of ideas on how Superman flies, a lot of theories on what his flight works like. Some saying he's moving the world around him. Other ideas, there's all sorts of stuff. Some is just magic, some feels thought. But the idea that, when he moves, when he swimming through air, as I would say, he's altering gravity. Gravity, for him to fly, if you were flying, gravity would play differently around you. Especially when it's like a controlled, not just a burst jump. This is really controlled. Like, you're really negotiating gravity in a very particular way. Also, great, pan up shot. It's like, there's, shots play in 3 ways. There's a beginning, middle, end to any shot. So, you can check it out right there. Alright, check it out. Alright, so. Beginning. Middle. There we go. Middle. End. Oh. And then obviously nice cut on action to him in his first flight to Victor Stone, obviously on the rooftop, which again, there it is in the city, which again, cut it out as well. Just a lot of stuff cut it out. Cut it. Flying off, and then Themyscira again, looking great. Old time world. It would be kind of interesting to figure out, is there any civil wars on Themyscira? You know what I mean? Like, is there class warfare? Like, does everyone really get along? And if they do, how long did the society take? Because they are humans first. They're still humans, and they still have those things. They're like, just a fun little, like, well, what if? There's the bat, the contraption that climbs up the wall, and I had no idea he was there. The theatrical cut, he doesn't jump on this thing. It is like, at least that I remember. Oh, I think we know what that is. I think we know what that is. Or at least we should. His influence has been through all that. So Frank Miller, again, I swear, people don't really realize if Frank Miller never existed in comics, a lot would look different. Via comics, and then via through pop culture, through comics influence, and then via through pop culture influence in comics to day-to-day life. Art influences life, life influences art. Man, we'd be looking at a very different comic book landscape across Marvel and DC and independently. So it's like, from The Dark Knight Returns, the Bat. It looks like he's in Chernobyl. I believe where the last fight takes place, Chernobyl. There's Barry and his father. More emotional moments. The emotional through lines. We have 4 hours of film here, so we're going to get to know a lot of these characters. Big time. Look at that. Boom. Okay, just when he's like, Victor's tapping into the mother box to try to stop it. Okay, ooh. Here's the thing. If I'm guessing correctly, hold on, let me see the background. I'm trying to see if this is in the final fight. Yep, okay, that's final fight territory. So where he is, this must be, okay, not spoilers ahead, potential spoilers. I only know this because, a few years ago, look, this campaign's been 3 years long. And so what we thought, like, we believe, the fans believe, by and large, we will get this film eventually. Sooner or later, we were aiming for sooner, and luckily we hit our mark. That details were revealed because really a lot of the staff, the crew, even Zach himself was like, look, I think they didn't believe this would happen, but they were certainly hoping, and I think that hope is symbolized through the details and the pictures they were showing. They were sharing, but they saw what we were doing as well. And so the spoiler in question is that, because we were coming up with all sorts of fan theories, and it came to the fact that there is a section where when the League first fights Steppenwolf, they lose, and the unity happens, and everyone dies except the man out of time himself, Barry. So he, at the moment of unity, and I'm not sure if he knows that he can use his abilities at this quantum level, is somehow able to reset time. Now, some people may be asking, where's the cosmic treadmill? I don't know to what degree that either of the dudes. I'm guessing here, but it's quantum and it's time reversal. And I'm guessing the League loses because they don't know how to fight as a team together yet. They're kind of fighting on their own. They just happen to be in the same room. But this is after him coming back, and I feel this shot was shown in one of the early 2017 trailers. But there's him entranced by the mother box, trying to be persuaded to join the dark side. There's Steppenwolf getting the mother box. Looks so much more interesting. There you go. He's finding himself back, which is super important. That heartfelt reunion we didn't get, Proper lighting in the background, proper compositing. That compositing in the 2017 Justice League was terrible. Like, it read painfully like a green screen. Important composition together, emotional scene, the sun rising. There's Batman going in the fight. Interesting. She's like slashing with like her son in the backwards kind of way, like reverse. So it'll be very interesting what her how they'll expand upon her fighting technique. Because fighting Steppenwolf is very different from fighting Doomsday. Doomsday has no mind. He is just a force of nature that like periodically explodes. There's Barry, quantum stuff, and look, this is. Let me get off that derpy look real quick. He's dealing with the thing with the Flash is, what's cool is like when it happens in comics or film is when they show the effects. When a main character is selling being indicating or registering that an effect is happening to them. Think of a character lifting a heavy box. You see their body turn, their legs bow out, their arms tensen, and you see on their face registering that this is a strenuous activity. And when it comes to the Flash, he's a fast quantum character. So when you see him move fast in this film, like the shorthand in the comics, it's like, he like when he moves fast as to catch someone that like he did it in a safe way. And some comics do like try the idea that's like some had the idea. I remember there's a period with Wally West where the idea was like the Speed Force automatically like protects people. When he grabs, if you're falling from a building and Barry runs up the building to grab you at like pretty fast clip, when he touches you, the Speed Force protects around you, right? Sometimes they show that visually, sometimes not, but generally it's just kind of like not necessarily thought about. It's kind of one of those like accepted elements of like the story. They kind of go with it. Whereas here, like you get to see physics in play. So when Barry runs out the window, right, he has to be careful to when he's in Speed Force mode, he has to be careful how he interacts with the physical world. Like he can't just smack back Wonder Woman's sword to her. He has to lightly tap it back because he's moving so fast. If he pushes you and half of his energy on that force, that thing might just go right through Diana's head. So here he's moving through quantum. Look at that. Him moving very fast. And also, here's the thing. Him running in regular time and him running through time and space is very different. When runners run really fast, when you're sprinting at full speed, you learn this in animation class, but when you're running really fast, you're not just like doing Sonic legs. A lot of times it's almost like you're basically taking big jumps. Like your stride, back leg up here, your stride is really big. I know some people have an issue with some of how Ezra's running, but I think the problem was in the 2017 cut. This was taken out of context. Way out of context. They show him running down the street instead of running through the force of time and space, which doesn't work the same as running through a hall in a mall. It's like you're running through like matter. So here he's coming. Look at that. It's time and space, the unity, it's just doing its thing. It's like everything is affected. It is just wrecking everything, like terraforming on overdrive. And there is the team. The almost team. He's not there yet. Look at that. The tribes of man, Atlanteans, there's some Amazons. I feel like I've seen some Zulu warriors too and some samurai, which is like super cool. They took the Zulu warriors and like the samurai out of the theatrical cut. Like why? Like why? It's so silly. You know what I mean? But again, color theory. Just look at that. High contrast silhouettes. There she is right there. Look at that. War cry. Boom. Atlantis. Look at that power. Look again. That ability right there. Okay, check out that ability right there. All right. Now remember Arthur. Boom. And then there it is again. Boom. Think about that. Is this an Atlantean skill? Is this something unique to a royal bloodline? Is he related to King Atlan? There's a lot of things. And obviously, it seems like that narrative line, sadly, is not really carried through based on the information seen from the trailer and such and stuff that, you know, different people have said. We sadly won't. That narrative line of where Arthur is, this Arthur and the one that's in Aquaman, they're divergent. Multiverse theory, so, you know, it is what it is. Again, lightning. Because otherwise, without it, this would be like a pretty dark scene. And it's like you can intuit where he is. But like this, always, it tells you where you are. It is the light source. Always have a light source in your scene. Even if it's off screen, it helps carve where things are. Look at that. A lot of dark space. But as a result, our eyes drawn right in here. This is where the drama is. There she goes. Lightning. Your eye is drawn through. Because you can't help it. It's the brightest thing. Again, same thing. Lasers. And again, like light here. Triangles. There's like different kind of compositional styles, but usually like triangles, circles. You know, golden ratio tends to use that kind of thing, like a, you know, the Fibonacci sequence or whatever, where it goes like it basically spirals more and more kind of thing, or like, you know, the rule of thirds thing, where it's like he's in, like, if it's a box, like a, think of a tic-tac-toe box, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and he's here, she goes through here. Yeah, there you go. Again, triangles using the light. Again, those complementary colors. There's a mother box there. No, not a mother box, but seemingly like a boom tube. And of course, there's the There's the champion of the oppressed himself. I think this scene was also repurposed in the theatrical cut, because one, they left the suit the color was, but it's cool because it's like they didn't show him punching and being able to use the laser at the same time, and just great composition, very dramatic, very bold. It's in a dramatic scene, and I don't know why some people don't understand that. Like, look, Superman as a historically created character, he is a wartime character. His temperament is generally stoic, but he does have a hardiness about him, like a kind of like, a get up and go, a get up and go about it. There's an enthusiasm, a can-do attitude, a motivation. There we go. And so this is that. Like, he's, this is a wartime situation. The Earth is under attack, and Superman in a fight, any Superman would have his game face on, serious. He needs to stop this creature. That's not just, you can't just throw them into space. They're gonna come back. Things like that. So this is like cool drama. Again, darks, silver grayscale right here. The silver stands out. The blue there, kind of good. It almost kind of creates like a halo around them if you pay attention. Just kind of like a halo effect. It's just like kind of like those old Renaissance painting where you have like the kind of halo. Yeah, see, there it is. Laser. Okay, we can bump our speed back to 75. And then Bruce Ton Diana, it's back again. So let's bump it back one more again, and then just let it kind of play through. Color theory. I want to talk about that. I'll complain about Zach's films today. He doesn't have color, or I can't see anything, which is false. Like, it's the thing is, like, these are very thematically, strategically colored chosen. There's a thing called color boards in film, where like if you take a sequence from, like, say Brave, right, by Pixar, and you take out a scene, there's a dominant color that kind of reflects the mood in the nature of the scene. and that kind of that's always carried through. Like Themyscira, it's very earth tones. Like there's different colors, but it's very earth tones. Like Apocalypse World here, fire, dark fire, red, yellow ochre, that kind of thing. And that's like and look like look at that right there. Like that is all color. Color is everywhere. There is no not color unless it's purposely black or purposely white. And black is the absence of color. White is just an intensity to where nothing is seen. Everything is seen there. It's all color. Um, what some people struggle with is I don't think they understand. They think hard shadows equals not able to see. They're not used to, and you can even see with certain artists. There are a lot of artists who are scared to use the color black, to use shadow to carve out your characters, because for probably multitude of reasons. Maybe they don't want the details they put in to be obscured, or maybe they want to show off how much they've drawn, or maybe they're just scared their eye can't like lock into how it might look. But it's in service to the character in the mood you're creating, and it's in real life. Look at your hands, look at the room, look at your couch, look at your desk. When you see, look at where your light is on. If you have a light at the top of the roof, look at where like the bottom part of where the shadows are. The closer you are to something, the harder the shadow. From the further away, the less so. If there's multiple lighting sources, like you see in like a Vanity Fair magazine, where there's like multiple light sources, then then the shadows will be like, the hard shadows will be less. So you um, okay, you see right here, because like the boom tube's coming in that room, right? That's the biggest light source. So the main tone is here, because like colors really in like layers of 3 to 4 layers. So it's like highlight here, then the base color is about here, then this is the mid tone, and then this is the harder shadow. So if you got on her face, like here, you see right here, that's like the highlight, because that's where the light's like reflecting most. And since like there's no like fold, it also depends like like the way the skin can fold. Like this is covering the back of her neck, so it's like the bottom of like her chin, so the light doesn't hit it as much. But see here, highlight, mid tone, then lightest, then darkest. And that's like three layers. See, highlight, kind of neutral, mid-tone, dark. Yeah, the flow. Yep. See, and look, when you pay attention to the colors, and a cool practice to do like when you watch a trailer, watch it with the sound off. Watch it with the sound off first, then watch it with the sound. Like you'll be surprised how much you pay more attention to like the visual language and what's being conveyed. Like you're forced to, because like the dialogue isn't just doing all the work for you. It's like you're allowed to like really conceptualize where you're being moved, because like really a camera is the window to the world you're seeing. It is the world that is not ours, nor should it be. It's just it's being allowed to see. This is a documentary of a given world. That's what storytelling is. There he is running through Speed Force. I know it's like I think everyone's gonna have a turn, I think, to stand in the middle of like that like kind of group shot. Like everyone's gonna have a chance to be in the middle at some point, because they have like importance. Like each, like you can be in the middle, like this obviously has the most prominence, but like they all have importance. Yeah, title HBO Max original, and now there's this guy, and we were very curious uh, about what he was going to be. Obviously, there's the Vanity Fair article. There had spoiler elements which I did not read, but we saw the photos of him There's the Joker. Now, the curious thing, because again, I didn't read the spoiler portion, so maybe Zach answered this, but I saw something referring to like the ghosts of Christmas, past kind of thing, like a haunting. There's someone pointed out in a video. I think it was Real Rejects, where they mentioned like the SWAT vest, reference to Suicide Squad, the end of the film. He was like broke in disguise as like a SWAT team to break Harley out of Arkham, or rather Bellevue, and there he is. And so, what a thought occurred to me, okay, like, well, first let's hear him.
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
Now, like, obviously, there's questions like, how did he survive? What happened to the tattoos, things of that nature. Oh, there's Victor Stone right there, Cyborg, who survived, and he seems to be wearing his jumpsuit, which is pretty cool. He kept that GSU kind of like tracksuit. Must be good material. This is in the apocalyptic future. Now, here's the thing with the Joker, and based on what Grace Randolph said, based on the photo, she's like, that's not his final form or his final look. I think, okay, there is, and the fact that like how he looks now. Okay, basically, here's the thing. This is, as far as we know, the same Joker that is in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, his true director's cut, and the theatrical studio meddled Studio Squad release of Suicide Squad. Both of those connect directly into Batman v Superman. They directly reference the death of Superman. That is like the jumping off point. There is Batman and Flash are both in these films. Okay? So they both connect. There's a world of difference between the Ayer cut and the theatrical, but in this case, with Joker, he has he has a series of tattoos, right? So there's one on his forehead that says "damage." This is specifically in reference to the death of Robin. The reason why he had the caps on his teeth, which people erroneously call a grill, is because his face was smashed to pieces into pudding, so to speak, by Batman upon finding out what happened to Robin. In this case, in this universe, Dick Grayson, not Jason Todd, which was a Jeff Johns contribution, which threw off the entire timeline. He put it on Harley's profile pages that she helped participate, but the timeline absolutely does not match up. And Dave Ayers even corroborated that, saying like, "Look, this wrecked the timeline." Okay, and that would be the first of many timeline wrecking meddling that Jeff Johns would participate in, because he is not a collaborator; he is something else entirely. So this Joker, there's a few ways you can go about this. We can speculate. If he is in the physical flesh, if this scene right here, where Bruce is coming out, either A, he somehow managed to basically laser off or burn his tattoos off. There's a J tattoo here, and then damage was here. Or this is an outright retcon, and they forgot. Because it's hard to tell with the teeth right here. I think that's on purpose. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but then that would mean that a it's deliberately creative choice to not include those elements, or this is a entirely separate timeline thing. Like we're talking again, 100% multiverse, which would just kind of further isolate the Snyder cut away from all the other DC films. I don't think it's that because, like, again, like, you know, like Zach went online and he's like thanking David Ayer and Jared Leto for, like, you know, letting him use this, the character they created in this Joker, but also allowing their worlds to collide. So that tells me that there's a connection there. They know enough. Like, I don't think it's the case. I think what is more likely is something that, again, spoilers ahead for those who have not, it's an element from the game Batman Arkham Knight. And for those who have not played that game, there are some spoiler elements ahead. At a certain point, like from the events of Arkham City, Batman was infected with the Joker's blood. And his Joker's blood was experiencing degenerative effects from the Titan serum, which, you know, it's like Bane's venom steroid on overdrive. It highly mutates the body, and it just turns you into this like massive hulking monster, you know, and like the effects are really terrible. And so those effects were slowly killing him. And what Joker did was then send the blood samples out to Gotham City, in which Batman sent Robin to get those blood samples back. But they did miss some, and what happened was Batman discovered the cases were happening in the events prior to Arkham Knight, and he found the people who were infected, and then he quarantined them because Joker's blood was mutating into a form of Yakov Kurzfeld disease. It's like this really degenerative mental disorder. It's gnarly stuff, and it turns them into a form of the Joker. So the dementia, the madness, the violent tendencies, that kind of thing. And what happened with Batman was like it's still a part of in him, so the antidote didn't necessarily cure all that he had. And as a result, you if unleft untreated, you slowly become the Joker. And Batman was exposed to the Scarecrow's toxin throughout the course of the game repeatedly. So toxin works on fear. It brings out its the most intense form yet. And so using the fear toxin on Batman, bringing his greatest fears to his mind, to the forefront of his mind, and with the Joker serum on top, next to it, you know, fear being the catalyst for this, what happens is, you know, what you have is Joker following you around in an interactive form where he appears in various spots and he talks to you. Like Joker's ghost talks to you. So you're walking through the rooftop and you see him and you see like the Joker there and the Joker's on the roof and he's like talking to you. He's like saying, "Hey, what's going on?" Or he does this, that, and the other. And like you can interact with him or not, but the Joker does, it's not the Joker. It's the manifestation of Batman's fear. So when Batman's in a situation where he's about to tell Jim Gordon some terrible news, he's nervous and that Joker is there, and Joker will say something like, you know, like, oh, you know, he'll say something to the effect of like, you know, in Joker way that he's, you know, he can't wait to see it, like that Jim's gonna be I can't wait to see how Jimbo flips out about this, and he's gonna be so upset, and I'm gonna be right here. The core would be Joker acknowledging that Jim Gordon is going to be very upset, and that he tends to hold a grudge. That's Batman's fear vocalizing what he's afraid of, not what he's necessarily consciously thinking verbatim, but is what his fear is. I don't want to tell Jim Gordon this. I'm reluctant to tell him this because it's going to upset him. He's going to blame me, and it's going to be a bad situation. And so whenever Batman's in a stressful situation, Joker appears. Batman's fear in the form of Joker appears. His regrets, his senses of failures is personified in this. So you have Joker, who killed Dick Grayson in this universe. The idea that basically, and again, look at the artifacts of what he's wearing. Now, could it be that he just physical form there and stuff? Maybe, but if this is an apparition, if this is all in Batman's head, one, he doesn't have to interact with them, just like in Arkham Knight. You don't have to interact with Joker. He's there. He's going to show up and appear and talk regardless. And you can walk by him, but because he's in your head, you still hear the audio when you walk by. So here he is. And like on top of that, you don't even have to necessarily have Ben Affleck and Jared Leto in the same spot. So you could composite him in various spots. You just have to let them know from like a directorial standpoint what they have to react to. So the idea is that in like each time when Joker appears, depending on the scene, basically it would mean that you can change how he looks. So let's say this is how Joker looked before he killed Robin. So each time you see Joker throughout, say, the course of the nightmare sequence, he changes more and more. You know, eventually you'll start seeing, maybe, potentially, I don't know if they're going to do it, you may see slowly the tattoos appear. You may see him as he truly is. Like, this may be all hallucination Joker until in the nightmare sequence you legitimately find Joker present form. You know? So it's a very interesting thing that this is all in Batman's head. This is Batman's fear. This is Batman's sense of failure for what happened to Robin, or symbolically what his fears of failure may be in his 20-year campaign against Gotham. Not Gotham, rather crime. And so this will be very interesting to see what happens. You know, to see like if that's what that is. And it could be very attractive. I would see why Leto would be very interested in what this idea is trying to do. And plus, this is a nice call out to Suicide Squad. And each time, it's just a variety of costume changes. This could be very interesting. And then on top of that, I wonder if that's Wayne Manor. That's definitely Cyborg. Let's see here. It's hard to see, but yeah, it would be very interesting because I think that's what they're doing. That would be so clever, and the metaphor, it'd be perfect. It would be just really cool to integrate Joker in a natural fashion, while also even like exploring. You're almost getting Joker's timeline, his history in visual form, before he met Batman and then after. And, you know, that kind of thing. Streaming March 18th. Alright, so let's run it back one more time. Normal speed, though. Let's take a look at that. And then, boom. The sound. Sound waves coming out. And it's cool, like when we see the shot move, you can hear his voice is carrying through. Sound going through, the scream that just echoes the cry heard around the world. Out in the dark, the dialogue matches with everything. You know, the Themyscira, an island connected with divinity.
Almost like a premonition. But there's an attack coming.
There's the big.
Which may move there. I need warriors. I'm building an alliance to defend ourselves.
How do you know your team's strong enough? If you can't bring down the charging bull and don't wave the
Red cape. Oh, that's a nice transition. Superman, the flag where he was is where Lois was.
And even if it takes you the rest of your life, find out what that reason is.
said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to.
Little callback to we can rebuild,
In a society
we can be better, we have to.
where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right? Batman.
Kind of when honor is a distant memory.
Right. Where honor is a distant memory.
Kind of like a callback to a speech at the beginning of BVS. At the beginning where he's like, what's fall is fallen. Diamond absolutes. There was a time above perfect things, diamond absolutes. So kind of referring to time of honor, where he was to how he's become now.
Isn't that right? Batman.
Yeah, I mean, this is 4 hours. Look how good this looks. This is a 4-hour film. This is nearly a 5-year-old film. Understand that. This film is old. Not like the oldest ever, but goodness, it's like, it looks great. Like the team, what they were able to do in 6 months' time is amazing. And the fact that Warner Brothers Pictures is dragging their heels on the international distribution, you know what I mean? Even like trying to put it on HBO Go, and that there's a lack of urgency, really, from the outside looking in, speaks to a internal pettiness and lack of business savvy. You know what I mean? Like, even if you can't roll out HBO Max right at the moment, get it out to the HBO apps, and then grandfather it in. Let people know it'll be grandfathered into HBO Max if they get the app when it gets to places like Brazil and India and South America and just stuff like to get it out there. It's like it is extremely unwise, and if people in those high up executive positions don't think that they're not being laughed at, or not, the people at like Paramount and Sony aren't clocking that Warner Brothers are dragging their heels, they are. Like that executive roundtable where everyone was talking about how they really were disappointed they didn't get 300. You think it was at Sony, I believe, or Paramount, and they were like they were really bummed out that they missed out, and how obvious the idea was until it was obvious. And they showed Toby Emmerich with not a word to say, not even bigging up his own company. And the first thing he brought up was the importance of saying no. All right, you have 3 or 4 executives talking about how awesome 300 was and what a visionary Zach is. And the person that Zach is still, from what we understand, is under contract to Warner Brothers, where Toby Emmerich was like the interim CEO, and he doesn't have a thing positive to say, looking like he just like looking like this is like looking like the ghost of Christmas past for him. Like in this case, Zach, the Snydercut is his Joker, a reminder of past failures that he's done, not failures on the part of Cruel and Unusual, now Stone Quarry, but on Warner Brothers portions. It's really disappointing, and one can only hope. Fortunately, AT&T is stronger than HBO Max, and AT&T and HBO Max is looking forward to seeing what the fans worldwide, to see the demand truly there, and so they can push forward. This isn't going anywhere. They say this film is impossible, and the idea, if you were to tell people November 18th, 2017, that this was coming, they'd be seeing the Joker. There's another cut of Justice League, and the Joker is in it. They wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't believe you. And you told them it's 4 hours? That the Bat was in it? You know what I'm saying? Like, the Dark Side, they wouldn't have believed it. You know what I mean? They were still thinking that the theatrical cut was made by Zack Snyder himself. That there's no way a Hollywood corporation would lie to the consumers and would lie to insiders to tell the people on news access media blog websites that they would have people lie to those people and tell them that everything's on the up and up. that this is an island of artistic and artistic and business honesty. It wasn't. There was a bunch of greedy execs who were ready to get their checks. They didn't think they were going to stay in Warner Brothers once the AT&T merger happened. Okay, but then they also figured we'd give up. They figured that they can just do whatever, and they feel these are just interchangeable things. The thing is, you do business to make money, right? It's a business, but in order to do your business, you have to do your job right. Okay? And the job is by telling stories and compelling ideas and taking risks. That's how you make your money. But when you don't, when you play it safe, too safe, and by safe I mean repetition of something that's already there in overabundance, that's when you get diminished results and you just get labeled an uninspired copycat. And that is not at all what anything Zack Snyder is doing. There is nothing Marvel related that's doing anything like this. You know, they talk about what he was talking about, like, hey, swing where they are, and using baseball analogies, Emmerich did. But you know what? They didn't. They had a tool right there, and they were scared of a few mean words from some people on YouTube and some people on Twitter with an irrational hatred, waging a hate and bully campaign against, you know, a director they don't like and his family. So, you know, we got the cut without them. The fans campaigned and capitalized on the opportunity that streaming and HBO Max and AT&T could bring without Toby Emmerich's consent, and we will still do it. So, make the trailer trend. Hashtag Snydercut. Tell your friends, tell your family, share it on Instagram, share it on Vero, Facebook. Forget the haters, you know what I mean? They don't have to like the film. They can go somewhere else, but we don't have to stand for them trying to make other people miserable for something they don't like. So, move, abide by your best self and sensibilities, and just get excited, because this film is this is an event. This is an unprecedented thing that has happened. And if executives are scared that they're going to be in trouble or lose jobs when they see how different this is and what they cut out, because make no mistake, this film was filmed in 2016. The new filming scenes, the additional photography, which in this case literally means the addition of new photography, was 5 minutes. The assembly cut was 5 hours. There was always a cut. Don't let anyone tell you that it just means cut only means a completed finished film. That's never how film language is taught. That is never how terminology is taught. When you hear someone say that, I don't care if they have a blue check mark, their credibility is not there. They don't know what they're talking about. They're speaking from ignorance. This film, in whatever state, in the many states it was filmed and had multiple timelines and versions because, again, Zach's a collaborator and he was trying to play nice and fair with people who were non-collaborative, selfish, and short-sighted, and wound up cutting the legs off of any financial gains they could have had by now if they would let and supported his vision, along with David Ayer's vision as well. And fortunately, both of these directors have their original visions filmed before the chicanery just rained down. So this is a time of excitement. Be excited, be happy, share the joy. And you know what? Other fandoms are taking inspiration from it too. They're seeing that, you know, when people come together, what the arts means, it's not just some disposable pastime. It speaks the truths that maybe people aren't able to articulate by words. It brings people together who otherwise would never talk to one another because of superficial differences, and brings them together through core feelings and core beliefs, the humanity at large, and allows them to talk and understand each other via what they like and what they don't like without being harassing or vitriolic for the sake of bumping hate clicks online. This is a good time. Enjoy it, watch it, bump the numbers up, share it everywhere. Tell your friends, create your own work. Be inspired to create your own stories. Stories embody other stories. A rising tide raises all boats. Iron sharpens iron. And all those other fun idioms. So, you know, it's I hope you're excited. I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. You know, and if you're not excited about it, instead of taking time to try to rain on someone's parade, find something you love and support that. Point that energy to more productive means to build instead of tear down. But, you know, that's all I got to say about it. You know, the time of heroes has returned, and quite frankly,
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right? Batman.
that's all there is to say about that. So, if you liked the video, like it. Didn't, thumbs it down. Feel free to subscribe or not. And that's the bottom line, because I said so.